In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a shaker-style cabinet door with the Festool CMS robber table. Alright, I've milled my stock for my rail and stiles, paying particular attention to be sure that all the stock is uniform thickness. Now I'm going to set up the router to accept the coping bit, and that'll make the copes in the ends of our rails. So that's our first step. Cope the end of our rails, and I'm going to be using the sliding table in order to run the rails through and cope the ends. I've got the coping bit into the router, and what I've done is I've just raised a portion of the bit so that the bearing is above the table. Then what I've done is I've slid my framing square along the fence of the sliding table, and I butted it up to the bearing on the router bit. Then I clamped this down. The reason I'm doing that is it's very important that the fence for the sliding table and the fence for the router are perfectly at a right angle to one another. So this setup will help me to do that. So once I've got this perfectly lined up, everything should be square, and I can tighten down the fence. What I'm going to do now is carefully turn the bit and make sure that the sliding fences are out of the way and the bit won't contact them. And that looks good. So right now I should have a perfectly right angle between the sliding table fence and the fence on the router table. Now what I have to do is set the height of the bit. Some rail and style bit sets come with setup blocks, and they're just blocks made of different material. This just happens to be a piece of plastic, and that allows you to set the height of the bit. I'll get you in closer to show you setting the height of the bit. What I'm going to do is just dial this in perfectly until this block will just slide past the bit. So just make a couple of fine adjustments here. Maybe it's a little too much. Right there. That's it. Now I'll just run a couple of test pieces to be sure the height is set just right. Alright, I've made my test cuts and I'm satisfied with the height of the bit. One thing I should mention is that the piece I used to test, I'm just going to use that as a sacrificial piece that I'll put against the fence, and I'll butt my stock up against it, and then that'll help prevent any tear out on the back side of my pieces. So be sure everything is locked down, everything's double checked, and everything's tightened, the dust collector's on. Once you're satisfied everything's set up correctly, let's cut some pieces. For the sticking bit, and I've made some quick adjustments with my setup block, and then what I've done is I've run some scrap through to dial in the height just perfect. And what I'm looking to do is to take my stile pieces, the pieces that I've coped, put it into this rail piece, and what I'm looking for are for these faces to be perfectly flush. When that happens, then I know I've got this bit set exactly right. So once I've done that, I can run all my pieces through on the long edges. And laid out, and And the next thing to do is to measure for our panel, and then we'll start working on that next. Okay, I've sized my panel, and I've got the panel bit installed in the router table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this through. I'm going to start with the end grain, and then I'll rotate it around. So if there's any blowout on the ends, the next pass will clean that up. So let's make some cuts. Passes, and now I'm getting pretty close. What I'm going to do is run some scrap through that's just a cut off of the panel, so it's the same thickness, and I'm going to dial it in the height of the bit just right, so that what I'm looking for is just a perfect slip fit for my rail and style joint. So let me just see how I got this, and let's make a couple passes here. Okay, that just slips in there, and that's just perfect fit. I'm going to run my panel through now. Okay, here's the dry fit door. Next thing to do is to put some finish on the panel and then glue it up. Alright, here's the finished piece. It may not be the best looking since it was made from a bunch of rejected cherry from a previous project. But this video outlined the process of making a cabinet door with the CMS. It also clearly showed that the OF1400 router has plenty of power for this kind of project. So I hope you found this video worth watching, and until next time, see ya.